Hey everybody, welcome back for another Mad Panic game review filled to the brim with fluorescent bullets and lots of explosions because it must be another shoot 'em up. And today we are taking a look at the ever so awesome Triggerheart Excelica on the Nintendo Switch. If this game looks familiar, that's because since its initial release in 2006 as an arcade game, it has been released on numerous other platforms, including the Sega Dreamcast, the PS2, and the Xbox 360. This port was handled by Cosmo Machia, a small developer here in Tokyo that mostly works on modern ports of games from this era, and it was released at the tail end of 2023. If you've already played this game on any other platform, then you don't really need to sit through the rest of this review, as not much has changed over the years. But if you've never played Triggerheart before, then sit back and let me tell you why it's pretty damn cool. For starters, you have two playable characters to choose from, the title character Excelica and her compatriot Cruel Tear, and they each have a different primary shot, with Excelica being equipped with a wider spread shot and Cruel Tear having a more narrow, but also slightly more powerful shot. But other than that, they both function basically the same. The controls are super simple and easy to get the hang of. You've got one button for your primary fire, one to launch your super bombs, and you have your anchor ability, which is the main gimmick of Triggerheart. Your anchor allows you to latch onto enemies and use them as projectiles. You essentially swing them around like a hammer throw and then release the button to launch them in any direction. These enemies can also act as something of a shield while you've got a hold of them, as they cancel out any bullets that they come into contact with. The bigger the enemy is, the longer it takes to gain control of them. But larger enemies can obviously absorb more bullets and cause more damage when they are released. For enemies that cannot be captured, i.e. bosses and mini-bosses, your anchor instead acts as a lock-on ability, allowing you to maintain a steady stream of bullets on your target even as you maneuver around. And maneuver you will, because Triggerheart can get a little bit crazy with the bullets, eventually going full-on bullet hell. It's a lot of fun, obviously, but also pretty damn tough. In this port, you get a total of 4 different gameplay modes to choose from, and they include a practice mode that not only helps you get acclimated to the game, but also lets you play through any stage you want. You also get an arrange mode that is basically a score attack that gives you only one continue, the original arcade mode, and a story mode, which I found to be the most pointless, honestly, as well it's Triggerheart Excelica. I don't really need cutscenes interrupting the flow of gameplay to fill me in on the story, which is honestly pretty nonsensical anyways. Just let me shoot some stuff. Overall, though, this is a rather challenging and fun shooter. I've played it in various iterations, including the original arcade and Dreamcast releases, and it holds up as an enjoyable game that is still worth at least the $25 I paid for it. What doesn't hold up, though, is the visuals. This was honestly never a very visually impressive game. In fact, even in 2006, when we had some outstanding looking shooters out there from the likes of Cave, Capcom, and Rising, Triggerheart always just looked kind of bland, and that hasn't changed. The environments and enemies are all very generic looking, and I've even heard some people say that Triggerheart gives them a sort of Flash game vibe. While I don't think it looks quite that bad, there's no denying that this game doesn't look very good running next to some of the other shooters that I've covered on this channel. On the other hand, the soundtrack remains solid. It's filled with energetic and upbeat music that lends itself very well to a game like this. So it's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the visual and sound design, but luckily, looks aren't everything because Triggerheart has it where it counts. in the gameplay. While it wasn't the best shooter of its era, and it still isn't to be quite honest, this is an enjoyable game that will give you quite a challenge, especially if you decide to turn up the difficulty in the options menu. Again, as I said before, there are plenty of ways to play this game these days. You might even want to pick it up on Steam. But if you prefer playing shooters on your Switch, then Triggerheart Excelica is definitely worth picking up because it's awesome.
Emergency.
Awesome!
The target is approaching. Are you ready?
あれが侵食コア